everybody, my name is BNG, and today on BNG's list we have 7 reasons why my dad is the most awesome dad of all time. Yeah, so if this title is a little obnoxious, don't worry, it wasn't for you, it was for him. So you can ignore this video or watch it, whatever. Either way, my facts are facts. This news is real. Coming in at reason number 6, my dad is like, okay, so you saw the title and I said my dad is a catalyst for change, and you're like, oh, what does that mean? Honestly, there are just some people in the world that whatever decisions they make, it can just shape and move and turn everybody that comes after them in a whole different way. And I can tell you without a doubt, there's just things about my life, about my daughter's life, that just would not be the way they are if my dad wasn't my dad. It's so crazy. It's almost like a domino effect. You can kind of see when he made certain decisions in his life and how it affected us as kids. And of course, you know, parents, everything doesn't always come out perfect, but for the most part, a lot of his decisions have shaped us in ways and that are helping us to be the adults we are today. And so yes, he is a catalyst for change, and I really do appreciate that about him. It's not easy to be the one to say, you know what, I'm gonna go against everything I know and do this way. And even though you may not always get a win, I love the fact that he always tries and he's not afraid to be in that uncomfortable space, and he embraces change. Number 4, my dad is incredibly overprotective, and as a kid I absolutely hated it. My dad was very selective over who we hung out with, over what we were watching on TV. I was never allowed to do sleepovers or slumber parties. Like, I've never been to a slumber party or anything like that, and I always thought my parents were just so mean. Like, why? But the truth of the matter is, my dad was aware of the statistics. He was aware of the probabilities of what could happen if I did go. And I always thought he was being overprotective, like, why? But then as I became an adult and I got to see those numbers, and even just finding out from friends around me how many of them had been affected by the truth of being young girls in America, like what can happen to you as something as innocent as a sleepover. Now I understand. Now I'm a mom, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, it makes sense. Like, a lot of the things, and even like some of the friends that he wouldn't let me hang out with, I couldn't understand it. And yet he's always right too. I hate that, but he always is right. Like, he'll see somebody in like 10 seconds and know, nah, that's not somebody you need to hang out with. And I'll be like, no, they're amazing. And then if my dad tells me you suck, you suck. There's really just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Alright, so coming in at number 5, it's just the life lessons. Like, my dad has taught me so many things and has shaped, probably more than anybody in the world, how I think about the world. A lot of that comes from him. What I find entertaining, what I like, a lot of it, like I said, it comes from my dad and the way he chose to show us things. Like, I have a really deep love for my brothers and sisters and my siblings. Like, it's because that's something that he taught me and put into me. Just even like, I feel like I'm very patriotic. I love my country. Those are things that my dad taught me, to love this country. And I know as a black person, sometimes, especially right now when you look at the news, there's a million reasons why you'd be like, why do you care about this country? Like, it's trash, but it's really not. And I stand on that. So coming in at number 3 is because my dad, you know, he was always there. Soccer games, basketball games, it wasn't a whole lot of that. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't do it for long, but he was there. I remember him at my practices. I remember him at my games. And that meant a lot, you know. He was the one that taught me how to ride a bike and all types of stuff. Even when he switched industries and he left the army and he decided to start selling real estate, he would take me with him to go scout out houses and, you know, meet sellers and things. I would be right there watching my dad make these big deals and like trying to understand everything and the ins and outs, and any type of business venture or anything he's done, he used to always bring me with him or make me a part of it, and he always was there growing up. I mean, it was like clockwork. Kids knew in my neighborhood, because everybody was afraid of my dad, that at about 5 o'clock he was gonna come home and he needed to be gone because he didn't want a whole bunch of kids in his yard. And I know that sounds silly, but going back as an adult, just the steadiness, like kids used to basically know, like without looking at clocks, because in the early 90s, early 2000s, we were not walking around with watches or cell phones, so they knew what time it was by when they saw my dad, because he was just so consistent. So yeah. Touched on number 2, and that is my dad is not afraid to be different. Can be totally embarrassing sometimes, and still, even as an adult, like I'm 30 years old, he can totally embarrass me. I don't know why he chooses to be so goofy sometimes, but it's also really nice because watching him go through life and do things and just be comfortable in his own skin and not have to follow trends or try to be like everybody else, not have to justify his decisions of what he chooses to anybody else but to himself and God. I feel like it is really inspiring, to be honest. Number 1, if you've been listening to all of my reasons thus far, then I'm sure you will pick up on number 1, which is my dad is an excellent leader. You know, we may not have gotten everything in the world that we may have wanted or whatever, but we always had what we needed. And sometimes that's all it is. Like, one of the things I feel like as becoming an adult, I was able to see, like, even the things that I thought were mistakes or I was upset about as a kid, and in the long run, that was him doing the best that he could. Like, adults are still people, parents are still people, but even through all of the craziness that it is to become an adult, to have a family and all these responsibilities that are just freaking crazy, and still to be able to lead people, like, shoot, you know, my father has 6 kids. We're all alive. We're almost all adults. 3 of us are currently on our own, in our own places, doing our own things, working, doing everything we need to do. I'm married with a kid. You know, my other 2 siblings that still live at home are in college, and the other one is in school, and everybody is doing pretty good. So I just feel like, you know, check the stats. My dad is a huge catalyst for that. I mean, of course, obviously my mom is a big part of that too, but this video is not about her. We'll make one for her eventually, because we got to. Yeah, this video is just made me really happy to make, and I know that it's like not the best ever, but I am just excited to share what I love about my dad with the world, and hopefully he watches it and he likes it too. So Daddy, if you see this, I love you. You're amazing, and I just thank you, and I hope you have a happy Father's Day, even though due to COVID we cannot be together, and I miss you. All right, bye.